Q1 earnings season is almost over, but there's one more AI company that has yet to report that could move the markets. Find out who it is and what the potential move can be in this video. What's going on, everybody? Jeremy Ritz, Courage Pays Better Than Fear Trading. Excited to talk to you about Oracle earnings that will take place next Wednesday, June 11th, and it's going to be an important one. This is one of the final major companies that's going to report in Q1. They're affiliated with AI, and there's potential for it to move the markets. So let's take a look at the charts and get a feel for what the potential moves could be, bullish and bearish.
All right, guys, so let's jump into Oracle. We're going to start here by going to the monthly chart and just checking out its all-time high. And let's mark that out here. We're going to drop a horizontal line on our trading view here at that 198.20. Let's mark that as the all-time high. And you can see that we're not that far away from that price area. And in fact, we hit that in December, the beginning of December. And then from there, you started to see a sell down that really concluded, surprise, surprise, in the month of April when everything found a bottom. And that bottom on Oracle came in around 118.55. And you can see that it's made quite a move since that bottom, up about $55.29, an increase of 46% from those lows. And it is showing strength here. So there's definitely support in this area. If we just look back to the left, we see that this area served as a resistance on the monthly there for some time. So now it functioned as a bit of support there in April, and it's just been pushing up higher. And notice too, when we look down here at the RSI, we are not overbought on that RSI, so there's still room for this to move higher. And then let's just backtrack. Let's take a look at where we are on the weekly. Again, you can see that out of the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks, we have had 7 green weeks. So 7 green weeks out of 9 total weeks, only 2 small retracements. So that could indicate that there is a need for a rest, a pause, a pullback. But we'll see if that's going to happen, because things have been moving quite significantly higher for quite some time. And now we take a look at the daily. Again, this earnings report is going to be Wednesday, June 11th here. And today, when I'm recording this, it's Friday. You can see that we did gap up. We have since sold down a little bit, not a lot. And we are currently above all of those moving averages. And really what we see here, if we zoom out, is a inverted head and shoulders pattern here that really we're getting back up to where this neckline could be. And if we break through that, it seems that all-time highs would be on the table. And what you can also see within this pattern is we have a double bottom that occurred at those lows. We broke above that neckline. We did retest it, and then that started that push out of there. So we do have some bullish patterns that are here on the charts. Now, even though we weren't overbought on the monthly, and I'm not sure if we were on the weekly, we're not overbought on the weekly. We are slightly overbought on the RSI on the daily chart. So it's just something to keep in mind here. But what has happened the last few times that Oracle has reported earnings? So let's come back here to Monday, March 10th. We could see that we did have a gap down. And from the close to the close of the following day, that was a $4.54 move. Again, things were weak. The sentiment was weak. The uncertainty in the markets really just pulled down on everything. So it's really hard to interpret that performance there off of earnings. If we come back to December 9th here, we could see that Oracle was pushing up. It made an all-time high, and this thing gapped down. And if we measure this out from the close to the close on this next candle here, that was a drop of about $12.84. So this has had 2 back-to-back gap downs. So just keep that in mind. I like to think of earnings in terms of probabilities, meaning the number of times a specific move has happened, either a gap up and gap down. And does that mean that there could be a potential shift in the other direction for an opposite move? Now, if we go prior to that, let's go to September, which was their fall report. And we could see that from where this closed at 139.95, it gapped up and closed at 155.92. So that was a significant move off of earnings to the next day. That was a $16.28 move. That was over 11%. So two out of the last three earnings reports, Oracle has gapped down. Its last gap up was in September. And let's just go back to last summer, last June, to see what it did. And here we have a gap up. Let's measure this out as well. From its close to the next day's close, that was a $16.13 move. So that was a 13% move. So basically, what you're seeing here is Oracle can be a significant mover on earnings. And so it's been 50-50. Two out of the last four times it's moved higher, it's gapped up. Two out of the last four times it's gapped down. So, what potentially can we see happen this time? Now, notice these two gap ups, it was below. Now, if you'll notice the last time, now, if you'll notice the last few times that it has gapped up, it has been above all of its moving averages. If we look at that September gap up, you could see all the moving averages below it. So it had nothing really to hold it back when it gapped up. And the same is true for that move in June. If we look at the gap downs, it was significantly extended above all of those moving averages. And it then dropped. And then the report in March, again, we got to throw that one out the window because of the uncertainty that was associated with what was happening politically at that time. But kind of taking a look at where we are now, we are above all of the moving averages. And the AI trade is starting to heat up. We've seen a positive report from NVIDIA. We saw a nice move that it since sold down. We saw a positive report from Broadcom. They gapped that one down, even though it was positive. And so there is a chance that we could see a move higher here on Oracle. Now, keep in mind, we are still a few days away from this report. I'm recording this on a Friday, so a lot can happen in between now and that report that could throw a wrench in things. Let's say that sentiment sours and things turn bearish. Well, then that could color the potential move heading into the earnings report. But just based on where we are at now, we are definitely in a bullish trend. And you could see we are above some massive volume nodes here on the VRVP. But if we're just looking to the left to see where resistance is in terms of most recent highs, let's mark out this candle here from February 19th. And this was a day when things really started to drop. And this is 182.07. It's just an area of interest we would watch. What is it going to do when it interacts with this price point? Does it get rejected? And from there, the next area that we'd want to look at is the next most recent high, which is going to be 192.09. So we'll mark that one. And that was achieved here on January 22nd. And then obviously the all-time high that it hit 198.20, which is back on December 9th. So really, this chart reminds me a lot of NVIDIA. And in fact, let's take a look at that NVIDIA chart so I could tell you what I mean. And here's an example. You could see that NVIDIA pushing higher, and you have these recent highs, right? Probably around the same time. So February 18th, Oracle's February 19th. Then we have this guy here, January 24th. This is a day earlier than Oracle. And then we have January 7th. So this one came in earlier or later than Oracle's did in December. And so you could see here these lower highs, lower recent highs. So those are areas we want to watch. Those are areas we want to watch as points of resistance. So let me just draw arrows here so we can monitor that and keep an eye on this move. So those are definitely areas of interest. And then we also want to look at the volume that came in these areas. And so if we look at this candle here, so this was the high that it made on January 22nd. It wasn't the all-time high, but notice all of this bear volume that came in here with this particular candle. We want to pay close attention to this. And why I say that is if we can get a strong close above this particular candle, we could squeeze some of the bears who may be in short on Oracle, and that could lead to a press above all-time highs. So pay attention to this candle here. Again, if we're just looking at all this bearish volume associated with that candle, this could be a point of interest that if we get a strong close above it, it could squeeze and we could move up past all-time highs. So pay attention to that. And then if we're looking at this in terms of support, what we have below us, again, similar to the chart when we were looking at Broadcom the other day, you have the 200 SMA on the daily, the 50 on the weekly, the 100 on the daily. So if this thing drops down, it's going to have a lot to catch it to prevent it from dropping further. So the fact that all those moving averages are there, it probably won't be a massive drop down unless the report is just terrible, horrible. The forecast is disgusting and they are not feeling good about the future of the business prospect of this particular stock. However, with AI heating back up and becoming more of a focus as it begins to get monetized, it's hard to see a crash through all of these moving averages. So what potentially can happen here? What does the most likely outcome seem? Well, I was off on the Broadcom earnings projection. I thought it was in a position to push up into the 280s, possibly hit 300, but the sentiment heading into that report was negative because of concerns about the labor market, which those have since been assuaged somewhat. And then we also had the Musk-Trump fear with their bickering, but that might not be a factor on Wednesday when we're heading into this report. So if the sentiment is bullish overall in the broader markets as we head into this Oracle report, that could lend itself well to an upside move. And then in terms of targets, what we want to watch are these most recent highs serving as resistance points. And as we break through them, that can mean we could go higher. So the first area we're going to want to watch is going to be this 182 area. And then, like I said, because of all this bear volume here associated with this candle, if we get a close above that or a strong push above that, look for some bears to get squeezed and we move above that all-time high, potentially into the 200s. This will be the key. When we look back on this earnings report, we're watching to see, and I'll be looking at the candles post-market and pre-market of what the price does here. And if we get that strong push above it, I'll make the call that we can hit $200 on this stock and make a new all-time high. So I'll put this down here, $200 target if bearish volume gets squeezed. All right. But again, we're going to need the sentiment that comes into play here before the report, but that's what we're watching for. And then in terms of a downside move, again, this is going to be, again, I'm a moving average trader. We could see we have support right down here at that 200 SMA on the daily, and that would be quite a significant fall here. If we would just take it from where the price is currently, that would be about a $6 move, or excuse me, a $10 move. So that 200 could be that first bouncing spot where buyers could come in, but then you have a support right below that at that 50 SMA on the weekly. And then even below that, you have that 100 SMA on the daily. So what I'm watching for in terms of support, if we have a bearish move, the 200, which is going to be 162.72, that 50 weekly, 159.02, and that 100 daily, 156.01. And then again, for the upside potential, we have 182.19. Again, we're looking at these recent highs. And then if we close above this guy here from January 22nd, look for that squeeze and look for a $200 price target to get hit on Oracle. So there you have it. My thoughts on ORCL.
So there you have it, my take on Oracle based on the technical analysis of the charts. And what are your thoughts? Does Oracle pop bullish on its report? Does it dump bearish? Let me know in the comments below. Smash that subscribe button on the way out, and my gratitude to you for supporting Courage Pays Better Than Fear Trading. Make it a great day, everyone.